Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Inspired and Empowered Living TV show and podcast for a thriving business and life. And we are live on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern on talk4tv.com, w4wn.com, and my YouTube channel. And you can hear the podcast on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Pandora, Apple, Amazon, and many more. So today we are jumping right in to reinventing yourself at any age. This is the next chapter series. And today you are going to hear more about how it's never too late to create a new chapter in your life. One that is aligned with your purpose. Or how can you let go of limiting beliefs, outdated identities, and the fear it's too late? And how to use your life experience, wisdom, and intuition as powerful assets for creating your next chapter with confidence. And we'll be talking about all of that and more today in this episode. I'm your host, Nancy Deutsch, licensed clinical social worker, certified hypnotherapist, and intuitive business expert. I combine my counseling, coaching, and intuitive abilities to transform your life. And I want to start, we had a question, and I'd like to start the show with this question, because it's a question perhaps many of you may be having. This is from Mickey from last show, and Mickey asked, what are the chapter lengths and how do we get to decide? So, Mickey, what I want you to know, and all of you to know, is that you get to decide how long your chapters are. And your chapters could be a short chapter, or it could be a very long chapter. Some of you may be reinventing yourself, and after perhaps a few months, a year, or a few years. And some of you may be reinventing yourself after 10, 20, 50 years or more. I'm going to tell you a story shortly, and you'll understand what I mean soon. So the answer is you get to decide, and the chapter lengths depend on your decisions and what you're choosing to create and what's next. So let's talk about, in the past few shows, we talked about recognizing where you've outgrown your last chapter or current chapter. You're understanding why your soul is calling you forward, that moving beyond the fear of the familiar and learning to trust the unknown. And so today we'll be talking about, is it too late for me? So have you ever had questions where maybe you thought, maybe I missed my opportunity? I'm too old to start changing careers. I'm too old to start a business. I should have done this years ago. Who am I to begin something new now? If you've ever had any of those thoughts, this episode is for you. And what I really, really, really want you to know is that in reinvention is for you. It's for all of you at any time when you feel that you know there's something else meant for you. And it doesn't mean that you're going to become a different person. What it means is that you're using your life experience, your tools, your understanding to build upon to help you move to the next chapter. It's not chucking it all in. So let's talk a little bit more about what reinvention is. It's what I said. It doesn't mean you have to throw everything else away. It doesn't mean you have to start becoming someone else. And it doesn't mean you have to totally start over. But reinvention is really it's about growth. It's about evolution, becoming and evolving who you're meant to be. It's about expansion, expanding more into the truth of who you really are, becoming more of your authentic self. And as you do, you grow deeper and deeper into that authentic self that you are. And what it also means is that you start living your life in more alignment, in greater alignment. You're not at the beginning and you don't have to start from scratch. You just have to start from where you are. And all the experience that you've had, everything that you've had up until this time is all part. It's all part of that next chapter. It's all part. You can't separate yourself out from all your experience, nor should you. It's really important for you to integrate it all and see what do you need to let go of and what do you need to enhance upon. And so I have a reflection question for you. Who have I become because of everything I've lived through? Who have I become because of everything I've lived through? And we have something Mickey says. There is a difference between knowing and thinking what's best for ourselves. Knowing that difference is key. And you are correct, Mickey. It's definitely knowing the difference. And that's about really tuning into your truth, your inner truth. Because when you know that you know what's best for you, you're sensing it, you're feeling it, I believe it's coming from that intuitive place. So knowing is really important and really crucial. Thank you for that comment. So let's go to it's never too late. One of the biggest fears, one of the biggest lies fear tells you is it's too late. It's too late for love. It's too late for my purpose. It's too late for my healing. It's too late for my business. It's too late for me speaking or writing or leading or having joy in my life. And what I really, really want you to know is that age isn't your limitation. It's your beliefs. It's not about your age. And I'm going to give you an example. People who change careers later in life, entrepreneurs who started businesses after 50 or 60, authors who published later in life, individuals who discovered a new purpose after retirement. And what I really want you to know is I've watched my own journey of the different chapters in my life. At one point, I was a social worker in agencies. And then I went part-time and I was doing social work and marketing for an architect. And then I left those behind and I started my own holistic private practice. And then I started moving more into coaching. And so now, and part of that also is starting this TV show and podcast. First it was the radio show, and then I turned it, and then I decided I needed to start doing the TV show. And of course, obviously the podcast has been there. So every chapter has prepared you for this one, and nothing was ever wasted. And I'm going to give you, and this is a very precious example to me, is my father. And my father, at the age of late 60s, he started writing novels, fiction novels. And he just kept writing these novels. He wrote 5 different novels. And he was so involved into his 80s. He was writing the novels, going online, connecting with other community, a community of writers. I mean, you should have seen him go. And so I really want you to use my father as your inspiration. His name is on another level. His name is Bernie. So remember, if Bernie can do it, you can do it. And I just really wanted to share that with you because that to me is such an inspiration. At one point I was like, I'm going to interview you, but it never, unfortunately, ended up happening. But his story is an example that you are never too old to start reinventing yourself. And I'm going to also tell you that I'm in coaching programs and I watch women in their 70s, in their 80s, starting their own business. So I want you all to know it's never too late to reinvent yourself and start over. So just really want to support you. And Anastasia asks, even the mistakes. So Anastasia, what I really want you to know, and all of you to know, is that the mistakes, it's redefining those mistakes as learning opportunities. And you have learned from every mistake, you have learned from those mistakes. And if you haven't, what I want to invite you to is to really tune in. When you think about a time in your life where you feel like you made a mistake and you look at it and you think, what was I learning? What did I need to learn? And if you're not sure, I invite you to look back now. Because as you're getting ready to move into your next chapter, the more you can look back at your life, the successes, the failures, every failure is a learning opportunity, just as a mistake. It's all learning opportunities. And these are really important opportunities. I remember one of my coaches said, most of the time, you're going to fail. Failure is part of life, but it's what you do with the failure. It's what you do with the failure. Are you going to let yourself stop and not go forward because of failure? Or are you going to take that failure, learn from the failure, and grow from the failure so that you can use it to transform your life? And that's what I really want to invite and encourage all of you to do, is to learn from those failures and mistakes and start seeing them as learning opportunities and looking at what have I learned and how can I use this to grow into my next chapter? Those are questions you can ask yourself. So part of what you need to is to let go of old identities. And what happens is that when you've outgrown a chapter in your life, every chapter brings with it perhaps a different identity. And it's about learning how to let go of identities that no longer serve you. That's where the key is. It's letting go of those identities that no longer serve who you are and who you are becoming. So it's releasing who you thought you had to be. So, for example, those of you who felt that you had to be a caretaker, and I've met a lot of people, clients, and also people along the way that I talked to that were caretakers. They were caretakers to their parents, or caretakers to their children, or caretakers to someone who has had challenges like maybe a disability. It could be a mental disability or a physical disability. And they were caretakers. And maybe you are a caretaker now, but I want you to know you can if you're a caretaker now, I want to invite you to ask yourself, what can you do to move into your next chapter as you continue to be a person who takes care of someone else? I want to invite you that you can still start your next chapter. Now, if the person, like the children grow up and the parents pass on, or people pass on, and you're not a caretaker anymore, and it's about you. And it's about you now, and thinking, who do I want to be? What do I want? Sometimes caretakers, and this may be you don't even know. You don't know what you want. You don't know what you're feeling because you've been so busy taking care of somebody else. And so I invite you and support you all to think about, what do I like? What do I love? What do I know about me, and who do I want to become? What is it that it gives me passion and purpose? Because that's your next chapter. When you think about passion and purpose, that will help you move towards your next chapter. And then another identity many of you may need to let go of is the people pleaser. If you've been a people pleaser, you need to ask yourself, how has that been serving you? And how has it been holding you back? Because if you're so busy people pleasing, then you're not thinking about yourself, and you're probably not doing the self-care, that essential self-care that I'm always talking to you about. So you may want to look at letting go of that people pleaser, the perfectionist. So if you have that perfectionist in you, I am going to say it's really important to let the perfectionist go, and or work on letting it go, because sometimes you think you have to have it perfect before you can let go of the perfectionist. But I want to let you know that it's really important to know that you're human. You're going to make mistakes. It's not going to be perfect, and it's okay. I'm doing some program now, and the program, and this is part of my reinventing myself, but I'm going to wait until I'm more into it. So at some point I'm going to reveal to all of you what I've been busy doing behind the scenes. But my new coach, has been talking about it's okay if it's only 87% perfect. It doesn't have to be 100. And is it real? I mean, think about it. Is it real to have anything 100% perfect? I don't think so. But perfectionism can keep you from moving forward. It can keep you from really trusting yourself, loving yourself, acknowledging yourself. So please work on letting go of that perfectionist. And then you may have the responsible one. The responsible one. You always had to be the responsible one in your family. And or for in any way. And now, and it doesn't mean letting go of being responsible, but what the defining or the reframing here is you are not responsible for everyone. Because a lot of times you may have felt, oh, I have to be responsible for this person and that person and this person and that person. That's like the caretaker. What I want you to know is that unless, obviously, if your kids are grown, only if you have younger kids or you're responsible for someone with a disability, then you what I want to support you in is letting go of being responsible for everyone else and ask yourself, what do I need to be responsible for me? How do I need to be responsible for me? That's what I want to support you in. And then you have some of you may really want to start your own business. So you may be letting go of the employee identity. If you've worked in a job or you worked in corporate for years and all of a sudden it's like maybe you've retired. So in retirement, you got to let go of that employee identity, or maybe you want to start your own business. And so it's letting go of that being the employee. And so all of those are identities for you to think about how letting go of them. So I'm going to ask you, reflect on this. Which identity, and maybe I've said it, and maybe it's an identity that I haven't mentioned, but it's still running you, or you're in it. What identity am I ready to outgrow? Or what identity have I outgrown? What identity have I outgrown? And what labels, the other question is, what labels have I been carrying about myself that no longer fit who I am? What labels have I been carrying about myself that no longer fit who I am? It's not about losing yourself. It's about uncovering more of the truth of who you are. And so, your greatest strength is your experience. That's right. Your greatest strength is your experience. And so many of you may be apologizing for your age. And yet, your life experience and all that you've lived through, and that includes the mistakes, and that includes the failures, and that includes the successes, everything you survived, everything you've learned, every disappointment, every relationship, every victory has all prepared you for who you're becoming. And what happens is your experience has created wisdom. It's created resilience. You're able to adapt or learn new coping skills or learn new things. This is about having that compassion for yourself. This wisdom, the compassion, it's looking at a new perspective of yourself and using discernment. All your life experiences, you can look back and start discerning more. And it's also taught you emotional intelligence more and more. And you may be in the middle of it, but just know every step. And remember, I've been talking about the baby steps. Every step, whether it's a baby step or a regular step or a quantum leap, most of us don't take quantum leaps unless it's time to take a quantum leap. And I invite you, if you're taking a quantum leap, go for it. But most of you may not be ready to take the quantum leap. So what I invite you to do is take the baby step. What's the one little step? One little step, one little step. And maybe you'll keep stepping, step, step, step. That's what it's about. And then really ask yourself, instead of asking, what have I lost? Ask yourself, what have I gained? What lessons have I learned? What opportunities from my life experience are there because of my experience? And it's going back to what I was talking about earlier, is to really look at everything as that opportunity for learning. That's, you know what? We're here to grow. We are on planet Earth to create and to grow. And every opportunity that we do that is an important opportunity for us to keep moving forward. So now, before I go to the next part, what I want to invite you, so any of you who are ready to grow your own online holistic business, I have a checklist and this checklist, it's called the Ultimate Checklist for a Thriving Holistic Practice. So this is about you learning what are the steps that you need to in order to create that a thriving holistic business. And this is an ultimate checklist for you. So Rebel, she put it in the chat for those of you who are here. And those of you who are not and listening to the podcast, you go to the name of the show, inspiredandempoweredliving.com/checklist. So inspiredandempoweredliving.com/checklist. Obviously all together, one word. And get that checklist. If you're really ready to grow that business, this will be a guideline for you. So I invite you to get the ultimate checklist for a thriving holistic practice. Okay. So why does intuition become more powerful? And why is it so important during this time and forevermore? Because I'm all about intuition, you know that. And one of the gifts that you have in life, and I really believe it's really a gift from God, universe, whatever you want to call it. And it's our way of learning how to navigate our lives. And the more that you can learn to tap into your intuition, the more you can become so tuned in, or you're guided to the next step and the next step and the next step. And so, what happens during this time in your life or when you're working on reinventing yourself? It's learning to listen more deeply, learning to listen, to stop the mind chatter, to quiet your mind and become aware of what you're feeling or thinking. And I don't mean thinking like da 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 thinking, because that's mind chatter. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the thoughts that may be coming through from the universe. And those thoughts, they're coming from a higher energy because they're positive, they're inspiring, they're empowering. That's what it's all about. And what's also happened during this time is when you're reinventing yourself and you're at an older age, you stop chasing everyone else's expectations and you start tuning into you. You start being able to hear your inner wisdom. And what happens is your intuition grows. It grows through your life experiences. It grows the more self awareness that you have, the more you will be able to start tuning into your intuition. Intuition grows through reflection. It's reflecting on what it is you really want, what feels right. And all of that is part of that tuning in to you. Sorry about that. Just took a drink of water. My throat was dry. So if you hear the gurgling, anyway, so your intuition, this is about allowing healing to happen so that you can tuning in and tapping in. And then it's about trusting yourself, trusting what you're getting, trusting you're on the right track, that you've been all these different places and now you're being guided in this direction. And so my reflection to you, or what I want you to think about, your reflection, you can journal about it, is where has your intuition already been guiding you? And really tune in. How has your intuition already been guiding you? And the more that you acknowledge your intuition, the more you acknowledge it, the more you notice it, become aware of it, the more you're able to use it, access it. It's a skill, and I want you all to know that you all have the ability to hone and enhance this skill. And it's a really important skill right now in our time. AI is not going to give you intuition. The intuition comes from that you being you being human, you connecting to that higher aspects of yourself. That's powerful. And what I also invite you to think about and reflect on is, what have you known for a long time, but you haven't acted on it yet? What have you known for a long time, but you haven't acted on it yet because you weren't trusting your intuition? And here's the thing. What I also want you to know is, if you're not sure and you're scared to take a move, again, what I want you to remember is that not everything's going to fall apart if you start taking an action or taking a step in this particular direction. And maybe you needed to take that step to move in a new direction. I know that I've had times in my life where I started moving forward in a certain direction. And then I'll give you an example. So when I first went as a holistic psychotherapist, I'm really great at teaching relationships. And I love, helping people have better, healthier relationships and communication, all of that. But what happened is when I started becoming a coach, you need to pick a niche, you need to figure out, what it is you want to focus on. And originally, I started thinking about trying relationships on. And the more that I started trying the relationship and thinking about being a relationship coach, the more I realized I was like, that doesn't feel right. It wasn't right for me. That wasn't where I needed to go. And then I started thinking, and I knew that I didn't want to be a health coach in any way. I mean, everything what I do, like when I integrate all as a business coach, everything that I do, you can't separate it all out because you're a person that has different experiences. But I bring it all in, but it's not my primary focus. My primary focus has become helping women to grow their business and now being able to help people grow their businesses. So all of that is part of it. I just want to check. Okay. So what would keep you from reinventing yourself? So if you're feeling fear about the thought of reinventing yourself, maybe it's fear of failure, or maybe you have fear of judgment. Maybe it's a fear of starting over, or even a fear of success. Many people don't realize it, but you could be even more scared of success than you are of the fear of failure. And maybe it's the fear of the uncertainty. And what I want you to know is that it's all fear, and it doesn't mean it has to stop you. And you may have those limiting beliefs like, oh, I'm just too old. I am too inexperienced. You may have a lot of experience in one area, but you may not have a lot of experience in where you want to go. And it doesn't mean you can't learn. In fact, perhaps it means like, wouldn't it excite you to start learning some new things? I really think learning and growing keeps us young at any age. Like I watched my dad. And when I watched, it was like this new man came alive when he started writing and sharing his journeys. And he used his own experience. His first book was all about his adventures when he went to Brazil and Rio de Janeiro. And then he was just letting it flow. And that's the creative process. And that's what's possible for all of you. And so maybe you feel you're too experienced, or technology. You can't do the technology. And I want you to know either A, you can learn the technology, or B, you get people to help you. Don't use technology or not knowing enough about technology stop you from moving forward. Stop you from taking the next step. Get help. You can find help. You can find support. Really want to support you in taking that next step, no matter what. And then you may have a belief, oh, well, why should I do that? There's so many coaches out there doing this, or there's so many chefs doing that. I was thinking about cooking. Or what if I write a cookbook? There's too many cookbooks out there. Well, I want you to know that there may be a zillion cookbooks out there, but nobody can do what you do in the way that you do it. And I really want you to know there's 8 billion people on the planet. There's no one like you. You are unique. You are an individual. And if your guidance, if your intuition and your heart, your soul is guiding you to go towards something, that means your message, your work, you need to be heard or felt or experienced. And so I really want you all to know that. And so I will talk a little bit about becoming more of who you were always meant to be. So, reinvention isn't about creating the new person. It's really about you becoming more and more and emerging who you really are. And think of yourself like, think of when you were born, or as a kid, you may have been like a blob of what like a sculpture, a blob of marble or something. Okay, no offense, anybody, because this is all of us, all right? And what happened is you become the sculptor, and you start chiseling out the pieces of who you really are. And what happens is, as you reinvent yourself, as you grow, as you heal, as you transform, that blob, that marble starts to come and have more form. And I also want you to know, even as a child, that marble is already forming. And as you get older and older, it becomes more refined, more exquisite. That's right. You are becoming more exquisite as you age. Isn't that cool to think about? And so I invite you to imagine 1 year from now, if your fear wasn't making the decisions, what would you create? Who would you become? And most of all, how would you serve? And so I invite you to think about all of that. And so, what I want to remind you, it's never too late. You're not behind. You're not too old. You're not too late. You are exactly where you need to be, where your life experience has prepared you to be, so that you can become the sculptor and fine tune that sculpture of you and your life. And so we're going to be talking next week. And again, I want to invite you to get the checklist. And the checklist is, if you want to grow a holistic practice, holistic business, you want to grab the ultimate checklist for a thriving holistic practice. And Rebel, you can put up the link and put it in. And I invite you, the checklist is, go to inspiredandempoweredliving.com/checklist. So again, inspiredandempoweredliving.com/checklist. And get that checklist so that you can move forward, start taking the steps that you need to take. So next week, we are going to be talking about creating a vision for your next chapter. And you'll learn how to move from uncertainty to clarity by creating a vision that is aligned with your values, your intuition, and the person you are becoming. And join me, and you'll learn practical tools to define what you truly want and how to stop settling for what you've always known. and begin intentionally designing your next chapter with confidence and purpose. So join me next week for more Inspired and Empowered Living, the Next Chapter series, creating a vision for your next chapter. And we are live on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern on talk4tv.com, w4wn.com, and my YouTube channel. And you can hear the podcast on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Pandora, Apple, Amazon, and many more. And I wish you all an inspired and empowered evening, day, and week. Have a great one, everybody. Bye for now.